Welcome back to Bonanza Disc Golf. Today we're going to be taking a look at the new 2023 Eagle McMahon Creator Series Cloudbreaker. This disc is coming out pretty soon. I got my hands on it a little bit early thanks to Another Round Denver. Big shout out to them for always hooking it up with the plastic. We're going to take a look at it today against the new 2023 Calvin Halo Destroyers because it might fly more similar to these than this disc, which is an old slightly beat-in Rive that when I had reviewed last year's Creator Series Cloudbreaker, it was essentially this disc. They were literally the exact same in flight and feel. So I was totally expecting to pick one of these up and be like, oh, it's just another Rive. But I picked it up and I was like, it's actually a Destroyer, which I'm sure most 12-speed, 13-ish speed drivers, where the Rive is kind of closer to 12-speed, if they all are kind of ish based off a Destroyer. But this Cloudbreaker is, I mean, it basically looks like a Destroyer here. Which it might be, like, I don't know what the deal is with Innova and Discmania anymore. This is a little domier than the new Halos, but this old Rive here, it is not quite the same. But the feel in hand definitely feels, it's not quite a Destroyer, but it's also not quite a Rive. It feels like its own little mold. So we're gonna play 9 holes here at Coal Creek Disc Golf Course, starting with this 287-foot par 3, going up the hill, throwing all 3 of these and seeing which ones wins. As always with bag it or bin-ins, if I can't beat par, this gets given away. Wind is pushing from the right to the left, so we're just gonna go with kind of a big forehand and we'll start with a Cloudbreaker. All right, we're not throwing far today, apparently. That was definitely beefy. We'll see if it's beefier than this Halo Destroyer. A little less Annie on it. Decent shot. Whew. This Rive, I'm almost 100% sure is gonna be by far the flippiest disc out of these. Yeah, I got a little flip up. That's what the old Cloudbreakers were last year though. And on hyzer, it is as far as the Destroyer was. Those didn't go super far. I woke up this morning with like a weird thing in my wrist where, I don't know, it feels like when you like can't crack a knuckle, but your knuckle wants to crack. It feels like that has been in my wrist. And I went and filmed and played a whole other 18-hole round thinking it would come out, and it hasn't yet. So probably gonna be mostly backhands today. All right, got putts with all of them. Aim super high. Aim higher, apparently, holy cow. Here we go. Now the reason I brought out the Halo Destroyer instead of just one of my straight overstable Destroyers, which right now are Ricky 2 times, but it's because literally this morning I was in the bathroom up and got on Instagram and saw that Discmania had posted some Q&As about the new Cloudbreakers, and they themselves had said that this is the most stable Cloudbreaker ever, even over the Cloudbreaker 3s, which are known as like the beefiest Cloudbreakers. I'm not sure if that's gonna be the case, but so far it definitely is like a Halo Destroyer. This definitely seems to be pretty overstable so far. Hole 2 is a 401-foot par 4, which is actually a par 3, so we're gonna play it as a par 3. Kind of gotta flex it down there. I do not feel like I'm throwing very far, and my wrist kind of hurts. I think we'll only play 6 holes because that'll give us an idea of how stable this is compared to these other ones and give me enough time to rest my wrist. You know, trying to be safe. All right, 3 quick things because I know you guys are already gonna ask. I do think that there might be slight acute tendonitis in my wrist. I'm resting and it's been a couple days since I shot this video. I haven't thrown a disc yet. I've been doing everything that my trainer tells me to do, but I should be able to throw a little bit. So don't worry, taking care of it. This is most important for the tournament season, which is just around the corner. I know you guys care a lot about me and tell me to take care of myself. I always do. I just also, this is my job. So things get intertwined and my diet and exercise has not been there recently, so don't worry, it's okay. Second thing, apparently today is Cloudbreaker Day because I got onto YouTube this morning and saw that like Apollo Disc Golf made a video about the Cloudbreaker, which is gonna be a different style, just like all of his are than mine, so go check that out if you have some unanswered questions about the Cloudbreaker after this, as well as I think Desert Trek Media. Apparently today's Cloudbreaker Day, so we're jumping on the bandwagon, I guess. And third, let's take a quick look at the Cloudbreaker versus the Rive versus what I think is probably the closest comparison to this Cloudbreaker, at least in profile, which is the 2022 Calvin Heimberg Jonesboro Open Destroyer, which everybody, when I made my video comparing 3 Destroyers, let me know that this is just a 2021 that they had left over that they used for the 2023, but it's not as stiff as the 2021 Destroyer, so maybe it's like F2s. I'm not exactly sure. One thing you might notice about the Cloudbreakers is that it kind of like comes up and then it has a little dimple or a little ridge right there and then the big old pop top. And I feel like that is honestly one of the only differences between this Cloudbreaker and, you're gonna see some tripod legs, but the only difference between that Cloudbreaker and this Destroyer. Otherwise, they have very, very similar profiles here. Even the wing shape, how it curves down right there, is very similar to this Destroyer, which is where it kind of differs from the Rive here, because the wing is a little bit flatter coming up here, whereas this has that little bit of a curve. So it does seem like the last year's Cloudbreakers were based off of a Rive mold, and this year's Cloudbreakers are a little bit of a deviation from a Destroyer mold. Now you're gonna see over the next 4 holes how these things actually continue to fly. I was very impressed with them. Just a quick spoiler, I think Discmania kind of nailed this mold for more advanced players. It's also a little difficult because I am at elevation and everything has a little bit less glide here. Luckily, I am able to throw just hard enough that I'm able to see the differences in these. Not quite hard enough to really get the usefulness out of the differences between a lot of these. Maybe between the Rive. The Rive is definitely a little bit flippier, and I overcompensated for that a little bit when I was throwing it because I wanted to throw good shots. I'm not going to say whether or not I'm going to bag this disc. I'll tell you a little bit about my conclusions at the end of the video around this. But it does feel similar enough to a Destroyer, honestly. I'd say this is a great disc for Eagle, where he's going to throw this and be able to hyzer flip it like almost nobody else is going to be able to. But just watch hole number 2. Not super impressive, but something really cool happens. Calvin Destroyer has the box. Going to give it a flex line. Just try to be smooth. Don't try to throw it too hard. Great little flex line. Get a skip. No skip, a little short. Yeah, that is definitely flippier. Not super flippy, it's still a Rive and we're still in Denver, so it's not bad, but not bad. Maybe slightly nose up. Seems like a Halo Destroyer, honestly. So if you're a Discmaniac and you want a Halo Destroyer, you got one. About the 350-ish, 360-foot range for those guys. Maybe slightly closer, but in Colorado up here, that's pretty typical for a super overstable disc. And if you have the last run of Cloudbreakers, even new, versus this new run, you have 2 different discs, which can be very nice. The problem is they feel different in your hand though. So that whole like mold minimalism where you like 2 discs that feel the same, no, this is still a throw. It doesn't really work because they feel different in your hands. Go in the basket. Let's go. Let's go. Oh, I thought we were gonna do it. Too low. That was crazy. Good job, Rive. But if you like pop tops, very pop top guy. I lied a little bit. We are going to continue throwing some forehands. Wow, Rive has the box. Crazy turn of events. 297, so just under 300 feet uphill. I think a flex forehand up this hill that matches the grade, kind of right at it, and then skips up past it is a really good play. So probably plays closer to about 330-ish on the forehand, maybe a little more, but should be pretty solid shot. Okay, that's actually a good teaching moment. If you look where my hand finished, kind of finished here, it needs to finish here, because that'll turn it over, which is what I needed to do, instead of being bad at disc golf. Told you. What am I saying? I honestly think this Cloudbreaker might be more stable than those Halo Destroyers from this year. It feels much more like a 2021 Destroyer. Let's see, let me try this shot and then I actually have one. I don't know. Because I think I actually have a 2021 Calvin Destroyer. Yes. I think this might be slightly more stable than that. Yes, okay. The 2021 Calvins are more stable than the Cloudbreaker, but the Cloudbreaker is more stable than the 2023s. But it feels very similar. So if you really want a slightly more overstable, slightly more domey, interesting. It might be better than my 2023 Calvin Destroyers, but I like having the step down from the 2021, 2023, Ricky 2-time, new Jessica Weiss Echo Star, F2 Echo Star. It's a little flippier. That's kind of my Destroyers right now. Covers a lot of shots. Yeah, this shows you how lazy that one was, because this is so much less stable than those 2 discs, like significantly less stable. Oh, Anthony. Okay, good. At least I caught some chains. That could have gotten really bad. I missed that putt. Honestly, up here in Denver, where I'm at like 5,000 plus feet of elevation and things are less glidey, I think that 2023 Calvin Destroyer is basically all the stability that I need up here. But I like having the 2021 in case like wind gets crazy, and because I'm planning on trying to have the same bag up here as I do at lower elevation when I go and play some tournaments that I already have scheduled in Kansas City, and then just playing wherever I can this year. So I honestly think having this Cloudbreaker, if you were a Discmania person, would be like a really big win, especially as like their new S-Line DD3s and like some of their new stuff. It's coming out a little less stable than the Innovamade stuff. I don't think this is, which is good. So Destroyer has the box. 340 feet, not far. This is a putter or mid-range normally, probably closer to mid, but we're just gonna throw these on a pretty decent hyzer. Maybe try to skip them in, you know? Why not? Shorty. My power levels are decreasing. Definitely more flip up. Oh, and big skip. All right, cloud breaker. I need to not mess with you. Actually throw it hard. There we go. Don't just hit and sit though. Kind of just hit and sat. Dang it. Here's what I'm saying. I think sometimes like taking these really overstable discs when you don't need to can be unnecessary. Here's literally an envy. Parked it. Let's go. That's where this might have been a little unnecessary, throwing drivers at this distance, because these overstable ones, they don't have glide, and that's kind of not the purpose for them. You really need to throw them very hard. I mean, I don't think my assessments are off this. I feel like they changed or maybe retooled the Cloudbreaker mold, because these new ones feel nothing like the old ones. Maybe the old ones are just flatter, but maybe the Horizon plastic does something. They definitely feel different to the old ones. That's like my first thought I had when I touched them. It's funny, I'm listening to DGN right now, and literally I'm getting a Cloudbreaker ad from Eagle. Speaking of, these are great discs, obviously, for someone like him who has his power, because he's gonna throw them like hyzer flip discs, because he's a maniac and not a little noodle arm like me. You see these noodles? That's why I throw putters instead. Oh, there's not a good line. Yes. Let's go. That's a cool star frame. Did not expect that one. Those are some great putts. All right, hole 17 is 317, just dead ahead of us there. We're just gonna give it a touch of aiming out of the hand. Just try to throw a smooth stock shot instead of trying to really rip over on them. See how they react to that. If I was to throw this with one of my kind of destroyers that I expect to actually fly somewhere, I'd probably expect around 370 to 380. So, oh, same order. Yeah. Destroyer first. Great shot, good skip, a little deep. Drive. That one I honestly threw in a little bit hyzer because I knew that any is gonna be way too far. But this last Cloudbreaker, we'll try to throw on that line just with a touch of Annie, so it's a little closer to the basket. Perfect. Straight skip. Good shot, okay. Well, we cleared 320 relatively easy, so I'm not feeling too bad about myself. All right, two pretty decent shot and one that I think I juiced a little too much. Ooh, not mad about that bit. Not bad by any of these. These are all definitely great. One last hole, 410, downhill. Let's have some fun. I am pleasantly surprised and impressed by the stability of this disc. I don't know if colors change anything. I know that's the case with destroyers a lot of times, but all the ones that I felt equally as domey, pop toppy, and overstable. So definitely feels slightly different than a destroyer, but closer to a destroyer than a Rive, and it definitely feels different than last year's Cloudbreakers, which basically just felt like a slightly sharper Rive. Even the dome was very similar. I feel like they just took that mold and slapped a Cloudbreaker on it. I'm sure they didn't, but that's what it feels like to me. Everything's under par, so luckily no giveaways as of yet, but this is definitely a solid addition to Discmania's lineup, especially for Eagle. Yeah, I can't wait to see how he throws this very differently to how I throw it and feel very humbled and then just want to work more. So really cool. 410 feet straight downhill. They're kind of walking towards it. Should be able to get down there with all these. Definitely want to make sure that we fall through down to get the anhyzer. I was noticing and talked about in a different video, a lot of times I fall through flat. Even when I'm like, okay, let me come over, and then I fall through flat. Nope, come over and fall through down. But we're gonna throw them out there to the right and let them come back. Get the skip, please. Yeah, that's great. I think this is out of the circle. I didn't really put my whole body into that, so we're gonna definitely do it with the Cloudbreaker and make sure we fall through down. Just like that. Well, that thing is very stable. Wow. That might be just outside the circle, but it's slightly past pin high. Wow, that might be more stable than this. I mean, I said that, but geez. Yeah, that is for sure more stable than that. Oh, flashed it. That's great. Kind of surprised by this. Not surprised that I did not throw the Rive very hard, because I know I didn't, but honestly, the Cloudbreaker's farther than that destroyer. And that's surprising because I felt like it fought out of it so much more, but it is domier than the Destroyer, which I think makes sense as to why it went further. That's okay. That was a little weak. I knew it hyzer out fast. Oh my gosh. Oh, well, at least I still got the birdie. That's an embarrassing way to finish those putts. Interesting conclusions here. This is kind of a sneaky, really good disc. All right, Discmania, kudos on a really solid disc here. Honestly, because of the dome, I might think about replacing this Destroyer with this, because it feels very similar. Then again, I could just throw 2022. Maybe similar because this is a little flatter, but I don't know. This disc is making me question some things because it's really good. I don't want to change up my bag. Or at least not in this category. I'm really liking all my Destroyers and all those options right now, but this is a really surprisingly good disc. I thought that they were overselling the overstability just based on feel of it, but I don't know, either this plastic or the stiffness or something, but it has the dome and it has the wing shape. It is a very, very good overstable disc, very much for more advanced player. Like, you're not gonna see a difference between this and a regular Cloudbreaker or a regular DD3 or even an S-Line DD3 unless you're throwing over 350, and even then probably not until you're in the 400s. Like, I barely saw a difference from it, and I was ripping on it a couple times, and right now I'm probably touching into the 415s, but I'm claiming 399 because I'm not claiming 400 yet. Big shout out another round Denver for hooking it up a little bit early. Glad that you guys were able to see that. Let me know what other discs you maybe want to see reviewed, but if you want to check out one of the last early releases that Another Round hooked me up with, it's the Simon Lizotte MD1 right down here, or the new Nate Sexton Firebird, which is literally a joke, but it's kind of fun right down here. Appreciate you guys watching the videos. You mean a lot to me. Very blessed that I'm able to do this for a living. Okay, love you guys. Bye. Time to get some food. Ow!